Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Kingsley is taking Nancy Sislow's place tonight, so would you please call the roll?
President Noblock,
Here.
Vice President Gillen,
Here.
Secretary Sislo, Pro Tem Hensley, here. Treasurer Rayner, ex officio Barthouse, Director Becker,
Here.
Director Attell,
Here.
Director James,
Here.
Director Nutting,
Present.
Director Ramirez,
Here.
Director Tozan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go on and make a motion to approve the minutes of the 4/18/22 meeting. Would someone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Dr. Nutting seconds that. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous, so the minutes are approved. Next, do we want to approve or amend the meeting agenda for tonight? Anyone like to amend it?
I'd like to amend the agenda. We
Okay.
have an emergency item at the marina that we need to talk about.
Okay, we're gonna just add a motion for that
Right.
at that
Make
point.
the motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the agenda to include an item dealing with the marina.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, just raise your right hand. Thank you. We'll come up with the motion at the appropriate time. We do not have a presentation tonight. The President's report. First, I want to thank all the board members for their time and effort they put forth during the last 2 years. We've gotten a lot of things done here. You should have received your ballot for the June election by now. If not, contact the POA office this week. Remember, you can vote by one. You can complete your ballot, insert it into the self-addressed stamped envelope that was included, and mail it directly to the auditing firm. The auditors actually count the votes. Number two, you can place your ballot in the envelope, and if you don't trust the mail, bring it to the POA office and drop it in a lockbox. The locked box, the only person who has a key to that is the auditing firm. And third, if you want to vote in person, you can go to the community center between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Saturday, June the 18th, and personally vote there. On Saturday, June the 18th, the board will open a meeting at 9 a.m. in the community center, approve the minutes from this meeting, and then recess the meeting until 4 p.m. when the results will be announced. The POA will send out an e-blast with the results as soon as feasible after that, and the new board takes over immediately. You may remember that back in January-February timeframe, a Justice Court judge ruled that the only remedy for the POA when trying to collect back dues was expulsion from the organization. Our attorney tried to explain to the Justice Court judge that it was settled law in Mississippi that an organization that has covenants and bylaws, which include collecting dues, overrides any general statute stating that expulsion is the only remedy. The Justice Court judge, remember, a Justice Court judge does not have to be an attorney. Up until about 5 or 6 years ago, they didn't even have to have a high school education, a diploma. That has been solved. They have to do that. But that has been changed. So the Justice Court judge interrupted the POA attorney and said to appeal his decision if the POA didn't like it. So we did appeal to a higher court. It took time and additional money, plus court costs to the plaintiffs and the defendants, or higher in higher courts, to get a ruling. Last week, the higher court ruled that the Mississippi Supreme Court had already ruled on a case just like this, and the POA definitely has a right to go to court and collect back dues. It's a simple collection case, nothing else. It's unfortunate that it took us 4 months to clarify this law, but at least we got it straight. The POA will continue to bring property owners who owe back dues before their covenants may or may not have expired to court to collect the back dues. Last year, we collected about $335,000 in back dues, okay, which is obviously substantial. So I want to thanks to all our legal team who's been dealing with that for a long time. Okay, next we have committee reports. Start the other end today. Mr. James, you have anything?
I do not.
Ms. Ertel?
Nothing.
Mr. Tozan?
Yes, I have two items, the Recreation Committee and the Election Committee. The Recreation Committee met, we discussed the need to replace the east pump at East Rec Pool because it was going bad. It has since been replaced and it's back in service, thanks to Adam and his group for getting that back online for us. We discussed the Pool Pass program and agreed that it should stay as it is. We've gotten very few complaints, but it is the best policy that we have at this time. Tennis World, the courts in the pickle courts are all in good shape and interest in both are growing. There's been a need to publish more about the play and the tournaments at Tennis World. KK has taken the lead to work with Greg and with Nancy Perkins to put together a newsletter that can be published as well as put in the Diamondhead News. The slots at the East Rec are filling up pretty quickly for the summer camp. Anybody interested in that, you want to be sure and get yourself enrolled in it. We still have some need to resolve some issues with involvement of the golf instructors, but that's being worked out. And Greg is working with the independent instructors, the need to address the agreements for independent instructors working in Diamondhead. On the election committee, just a reminder, the candidate forum is May 23rd for the president and vice president, May 25th for the directors, starting at 6:30. We have nearly a full house for both sessions. Only one individual has declared their inability to attend. You can still submit questions up until the 19th. If you want to submit questions, submit them to yourcomments@dhpoa.org. I continue to receive complaints about signs that are placed in violation of the city ordinances, the POA rules, and being placed on property without owner's permission. I've sent letters to the candidates to please inform their supporters of the proper placement of signs. It's the candidates' responsibility to work with their supporters to ensure they're placed properly. The only thing I can say, it's the impressions you're forming on your ability to follow the rules when they're not followed in that case. Ballots, you've already covered, Ernie, there's no need for me to go into that. Just one big thank you I'd like to give to Megan Gamard and to Nancy Perkins for all the work they've done with the election committee to this point. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nutting?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Becker?
Yes, the Gulf Committee met on May 12th. Some of the items that we discussed were the T-sheet system in the new software system and who gets preference, the need for a new range ball machine, which we'll talk about in the near future, outside tournament revenue, tee times when one course is closed, the sand trap breaking schedule, and other various items.
That's it? Mr. Gillen?
Yes, I don't, if everyone will remember, a few months back, Stennis Airport was going to get new runway lights. And part of that was that the lights were being donated or paid by funds out of public funds, and that they could take the old lights and donate them, or they needed to. And they offered them to us, we voted to accept them, and today we picked them up. So they are in our possession, and of course, Adam, with everything he has to do, will begin to see about getting those installed, and hopefully, maybe by the end of June, that we'll have all brand-new lights on our runway. The last conversation I had with him about the old lights, he was replacing them almost faster than he can order the bulbs. So this will be a great improvement for him. The ship store is in place. There's a whole lot of things that has to be done to get that back up and running the way it should. Gary Becker has spent several days getting our Kakaho minnows up and ready. You can now buy minnows. They're cheap, only 50 cents, and they're live And anybody that's fished with those knows how well they hold up. You get your money's worth. But please bear with us on the ship store. It's going to take a little while to get everything back in place that was inside. If you've driven by, you'll notice how great it looks. The new fuel pumps are in place and operable. If you need fuel, come on by, they'll take care of you.
Okay. Mr. Ramirez, you have anything?
So yeah, the safety team, we did actually did not meet, but I had a conversation earlier with Greg. There's some things in the background going on, and actually I'm going to send you an email. I've got a couple other things I want to send your way. As far as the grounds committee, we also did not meet, but at the last meeting we had discussed the items we had looked at the amenities and things we wanted to maintenance to look at. We sent in the list, and looks like Adam and the crew has done their thing again and taken care of most of those things. A couple items still hanging, like the painting the lines for parking out in the parking lot over there at Twin Lakes. That's just something we got to get bids on and that type stuff. So that'll be a little bit longer, but for the most part, all of those items have been handled and look good.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next is the general manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to pass along thanks to all of you as board members and also the individuals who participated on the various committees over the last couple of years. From an operations standpoint, your guidance and support has been much appreciated, and we thank you. In the packets that I've prepared for you this evening, you'll see the summary of the POA goals and focus areas, and then we get into the financials. For the month of April, if you combine all the various departments, pluses and minuses, the total amount, net income, $60,374. Year to date, that number is $3,363 net income. That's year to date, January through April. The next two sheets are identification as to what the capital expenditure dollars relate to for the various departments, golf and recreation, and also the contingency. A lot of work's been done to bring the marina up to speed. As Mr. Gillen reported, the ship store is in place, and also an improved restroom facility has been made available there. And we're going to look into bringing the customer service level to the standard that it should be now that we have the facilities in place. Continuing in the packet of information, you'll see the amenity use figures. Golf continues to have a very good year, not only in volume but also in revenue. Tennis is becoming more, I'm going to call it somewhat independent and breaking even. And we're looking forward to the marina and the airport coming online with the improvements that are in the works. The next page of your packet is the food and beverage numbers specific to the club. And I've listed January, February, March, and April, and it gives a daily revenue as well as the individual departments, that being the Latitude 30, the Oak Room. And what this does is it simply shows where the peaks and valleys are, and it helps us plan for scheduling and also staffing purposes. The next page is the summary for the work that's being done through the collections department. And Mr. Knobloch, as you reported last year, it was over $300,000 through the pursuit of delinquent accounts. This year, the number year to date is a little over $100,000 that's been accomplished. Couple notes from the marketing department. Recently, we played host to a fam trip, which is a group of writers and journalists who come visit your property, experience your product and your service, and the reviews were favorable, and we anticipate receiving some play as a result of that. In fact, one of the writers is in communication with us about bringing a group of 36 players. So that's all good. And the last page in your packet is the employee updated hire report. It shows replacements, and the majority of the activity there has to deal with hiring of part-time employees to work through the summer months to service the swimming pools.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Abity? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. James, do we have any POA members who want to comment on agenda items?
We do not.
Okay. We don't have any unfinished business, so now we're going to move to the regular agenda. Remember, it was amended. So, Mr. Becker, you're on.
Yes. McKinney Petroleum Equipment, when they came out to replace the new pumps, which we ordered several months ago for the marina, found some problems underneath the pumps. The gasoline and diesel pump dispenser sumps are both damaged. They are proposing to remove and replace those, remove and replace the rusted conduit and damaged wiring, install new stainless steel fittings, stainless impact valve, and universal stabilizer bar. The whole process is necessary. They said it could last another month, it could last a year, but it has the capacity, if it fails, to release fuel into the harbor, and it also has moisture in it, which we can't have. So would like to make a motion that we get those repairs made at a cost not to exceed $12,000. It's an emergency item.
Anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Dr. Nutting seconds. Any comments from anybody? Any questions? This came up at 4 o'clock today?
Right.
Something like that is one of the first thing I heard about it. And I agree, I think it's an emergency thing. The worst thing we can have is fuel leaking into the sump pump area or into the harbor. And this is the same, we hired a company, you might remember, if there's a named storm in the Gulf, that company will come in and pull the pumps out. Because in the past, they used to get flooded 3-4 times a year. Okay, and the salt water and all the electrical stuff is obviously not good for it. So this, that's being recommended by the same company. They can look around and get another bid or two just to make sure. We don't have the actual number that I would have. It would be 2022 dash something or other, but I don't have the last ones, so we'll add that later. So we have a motion. Would you please read it again?
The motion is to replace the gasoline and diesel dispenser pumps, sumps, along with the damaged wiring, the conduit, the fittings, etc., material and labor not to exceed $12,000.
Okay, does anyone else have a question on that?
The $12,000 is for both pumps, right?
Correct.
And it, that's just a preliminary, the first quote. Adam's gonna get more quotes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt we cannot, knowing that we have an issue not addressed and with a potential environmental issue, we have to address it.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll call for a vote on that motion. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Do we have any POA members who want to comment on non-agenda items?
We do not.
Ms. Ertel?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Someone second
I
that?
will second that.
Mr. James second. All in favor, just say yes.
Aye.
Aye. Whatever. Okay.
Aye.
You're going back for